Hey y'all, who is ready for some fall recipes? Fall is my absolute favorite time of the year, and it's just my favorite time to be in the kitchen, pulling out all of those cozy, comforting dishes. So in this video, I decided to try out 5 new to me crockpot recipes. Hopefully, at least one of these will make it to your fall menu. I'm really excited to share these recipes because this was honestly such an excellent lineup of meals. Was really pleased with all of them, but I really hope that this video is helpful and I hope y'all enjoy it. First up, I'm going to be making some cowboy sandwiches. I have been seeing this recipe all over the internet for the last couple of years and I think it looks so good, so we're finally going to give it a try. So you need 3 pounds of a beef chuck roast. I bought mine at my local Save-A-Lot and they never set out like big roasts, so that's why you see me using 2 smaller ones. But I did add those to the bottom of my crock pot, and now I'm going to go in and season those well with some Lawry's seasoned salt. As you can see, I am making sure to season both the top and the bottom of both of those. Now, the recipe does say to add in a half of a sliced onion in with the meat to cook, but if you have watched me for any amount of time, you'll know I don't cook with onions, so what I'm doing here is adding some onion powder to kind of somewhat make up for that flavor. Next, you're going to need to add in 2 cups of barbecue sauce. I'm using 2 different ones because I already had some left in my fridge that I would, of course, want to use first. So I had about a cup. And then for the other cup, I'm going to use the Sweet Baby Ray's Hickory Brown Sugar. So I'm just going to pour that all over top of my meat. I love this Pampered Chef measuring cup. It's perfect for like sauces. Just make sure you get every little bit of it out easily. I'm going to be adding in a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. I did dice up about 2 jalapenos, threw that in. I'm also going to do a big spoonful of minced garlic. I use the jarred stuff, but you could absolutely use fresh if you wanted to. And then here I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I did cook up a package of bacon, and about half of that package of the cooked bacon I did crumble and toss it in the crock pot. And then the other half I'm going to reserve for when this is done. That way we can add it to the top of our sandwiches. Now, you probably don't necessarily have to stir this, but I just kind of felt like it. I wanted to make sure that brown sugar and the garlic was kind of mixed all throughout the barbecue sauce. But now I'm just going to simply add my lid, and I'm going to cook this on low anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. Really depends on your crock pot. I feel like it's really important to get to know your crock pot. I have a few different ones and they all cook up so differently. But when the meat was done and tender, I just used a slotted spoon, transferred that to a large mixing bowl, and I did that because I didn't want a lot of liquid in with the meat because I didn't want the sandwiches to come out like super soggy. But as you can see, I'm just taking 2 forks to shred that meat, and what I love about a chuck roast is how easily it shreds apart. But now I'm going to start assembling the sandwich. So I did lightly butter and toast some buns. I added a slice of Colby Jack cheese down and then piled it high with that meat. It does call for the French's fried onions, just the kind in the can, to be added on top. And then I added a slice of that bacon that I cooked earlier in the day and added that top bun on. Doesn't that just look so good? I feel like this is a meat lover's dream. Now, as for the sides, I decided to serve this up with some waffle fries. These are the Rally's brand. I've just now started to see those come out in stores. Really good, by the way. And I also was in the mood for a Caesar salad, so I also paired it with that. And this whole meal just turned out so tasty. We love these sandwiches. If you have ever had like a barbecue beef sandwich, it's really similar to that, but the jalapeno and bacon flavors really made it a little extra special. And if you have a ton of leftovers, the meat will freeze really great. And I also think this will be really fun for like a party on some King's Hawaiian rolls. Up next, I'm making some chicken legs. I came across this recipe on TikTok, and y'all, I am not exaggerating when I say that these are hands down the best chicken legs that I have ever had in my entire life. You start by sprinkling some all-purpose flour into the bottom of your crock pot, and then you're going to want to grab some chicken legs, however many is enough to feed your family. I got this whole pack for only $3.02. That is amazing. I love how budget-friendly this recipe is. Now, you are going to want to take the skin off of each chicken leg because it's not going to cook up good in a crock pot. It's going to turn out super soggy and maybe rubbery. Like it wouldn't be good. So I'm going to show you how I take the skin off of 2 of them. You'll need a paper towel to easily pull that off since it's so slippery. And then I took off the skin on the others off camera. I didn't want to bore y'all, but I'm just going to layer those into the bottom of my crock pot. This is the perfect amount for my family. Now you can go as crazy as you want with the seasonings. Now, I didn't have exactly everything that she had in her video, which I will, of course, link in the description box. But I just did some sea salt and black pepper, onion and garlic powder, some paprika. I also did some of this Badia Complete. I've had this season for a while, but I don't reach for it very much at all because I'm just not that familiar with it, I guess. But lastly, I'm using some of this McCormick rotisserie chicken seasoning. Now you just need a few splashes of chicken broth in the bottom. I actually had some left over from another recipe, so maybe a 3rd cup or a 4th cup, I should say. And now I'm going to add about a half a stick of butter. I did cut it into slices, just arranging that over the chicken. And then I'm going to add on the lid and I'm going to cook this on high for 4 hours. So here we are after the 4 hours. It's definitely not the prettiest dish in the world, but as good as it tastes, makes up for it. Doesn't even matter. But I want to show y'all how incredibly tender this chicken is. You just give it a little bounce and it's going to fall right off that bone. That shows you how perfectly these cook up. So I've got 2 of those chicken legs. I served it with some homemade mashed potatoes. I, of course, poured some of the drippings from the crock pot over the potatoes. And I also cooked up some broccoli to go with it. This whole meal was just absolutely amazing. I promise you, if you like chicken, you have got to give this recipe a try. It tastes so flavorful, but the texture is everything. It is so juicy, and it about just melts in your mouth. We all absolutely loved it. It was the easiest meal to make, and I truly do not think you'll be disappointed if you make it. On this night, I'm making meatloaf. Meatloaf is one of my favorite meals, but I have never thought to make it in a crock pot. But I love the idea of putting it together earlier in the day when you've got the most energy and then coming home to one of the best comfort meals. So to my mixing bowl, I've added in 2 pounds of ground beef. I seasoned it with onion powder, or you can throw in some diced onions. And then I'm going to add in 3/4 of a cup of Italian style breadcrumbs, going in with some dried parsley, or you could use fresh if you wanted to. I'm also going to do a half a cup of milk, and I did crack in 2 large eggs. I'm going in with a good amount of garlic powder. I did a teaspoon of some sea salt and then plenty of black pepper. Now, I did forget to add in Worcestershire sauce. I cannot believe that I forgot that. You need a tablespoon in the meatloaf. Makes it extra good, but it was still really good without it. But as you can see, I'm just going in with my hands, getting it all mixed together good. Now, I do have a few different meatloaf recipes that I really enjoy. This night, I did try a different one, but I would think that any meatloaf would work just as good in the crock pot. I don't think that would matter. But once I got that mixed to my liking, I pulled my crock pot back on over, and you're going to want to line it with some tin foil. So I really wanted to use heavy duty for this, but I did not have any, and I couldn't find any at the store that I was shopping at. So this is just some regular old tin foil, and it worked perfectly. So I was worried about that. So I was thankful that all went good there. But I did spray it with some Pam cooking spray, and then I'm just going to get all of that meat placed in there, and then with my hands, I'm just going to simply shape it into a loaf. So now I'm going to get started on the glaze. So that's going to be a half a cup of ketchup, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, and 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. I have never put balsamic vinegar in my meatloaf glaze, but we really enjoyed it. Had a nice little zest to it. So I'm just going to get this glaze mixed together really good. I spent at least a good minute on it, I'd say. Really wanted to get that brown sugar mixed throughout. But I'm going to drizzle on half of this glaze onto the uncooked meatloaf. I was really careful here to not cross-contaminate because I'm going to cover the rest of that glaze up and sit it in my fridge, and then we'll add it on at the end. So just got that spread out with the back of a spoon, and then I'm going to get my lid added on, and I cooked mine on high for 3 hours. hours, but you could also do low for 6, just whatever works best for, that day. So here we are after the 3 hours. Now, there was a lot of grease in the bottom of this because I did use a higher fat ground beef. So I just took a turkey baster to get that out. It took very little time. I should have filmed that. I really don't know why I didn't, but I definitely wanted to mention that you're probably going to have a lot of grease that you got to deal with. But here I'm just putting on the other half of that glaze. And then I just added the lid back on, and I'm going to let it rest for a little bit before I go to slice it up and serve it. So once you are ready to serve it, you can just pick up the sides of the tin foil, transfer it onto a cutting board or a serving platter, and I'm simply just going in and slicing it. And it sliced really well. I was really impressed with how it held together. Wasn't crumbly at all. Meatloaf is another one of those dishes that is not the prettiest to look at, but it's always so delicious. So here's my plate. I've got a big old slice of that meatloaf. I served it with a side of peas and some scalloped potatoes. These are just the Betty Crocker box scalloped potatoes. I have always loved those, and I haven't made them in forever. But y'all, this meatloaf turned out phenomenal. It was so juicy and soft. I swear, I've always said it. I love the way Crockpot cooks ground beef. It just changes the texture of the meat in the absolute best way. Again, I love the idea of letting this cook in the Crockpot, so I will definitely do it again in the future. Now, I'm sure that most of y'all have heard of a Mississippi pot roast, but have you ever done it with a pork tenderloin? I'm telling y'all now, this is a new family favorite. It's incredible. So first off, I just love pork tenderloin to begin with. It is so budget friendly, and it's just such a tender, good cut of meat. I have a little over 2.5 pounds here, and it was just a little over $8. So I think that is good. Now, it's very important to cut the silver skin off the back of the tenderloins, because if you don't, then you're going to have some tough spots. You definitely don't want to do that. So I don't feel like I'm the best at this, but I got it done pretty quickly. But after you get the silver skins removed, you can go ahead and plop them in your crock pot. Went and washed my hands, and now you want to add a packet of ranch seasoning mix. Now, this is the Hidden Valley one that I have. I just had to transfer it to a jar because my lid on the other one was broke. But I did 3 tablespoons of that, and then you're going to need a packet of au jus gravy mix. So sprinkle that on, and then this is the pepperoncinis that I'm going to use. I ended up adding about 8 of these in there. You can do as little or as much as you want. My family will not eat these peppers, but I'll eat every single one of them. They are so good, especially when cooked like that. I added in a big splash of that juice from the jar, and then lastly, just a stick of butter. I ended up cooking mine on low for 6 hours. This is my oldest crock pot, so I know that it gets the hottest. So I knew to go in and check it around 6 hours, but it could take anywhere up to 8 hours, depending on your crock pot. But now I'm going in and shredding that meat up with 2 forks, and as you can see, it is just falling apart so effortlessly. That's why I love pork tenderloin. I honestly like this better than with the chuck roast. I mean, that's good too, of course, but something about that pork tenderloin, not only is it a lot cheaper, but just like those chicken legs earlier in the video, this meat literally just melts in your mouth. It's incredible. So I served this over a bed of rice, and I just paired it with some microwave steamable mixed veggies. Now, my husband chose to eat his Mississippi pork on a bun instead of the rice. So the next day for leftovers, when it was lunchtime, I reheated it and put it on a bun, and oh my goodness, it was even better. So the next time that I make this, and I have a feeling it's going to be really soon because we honestly just loved it so much, I am going to plan to make it and serve it as sandwiches. I hope you guys give this one a try if you haven't already. I'm so thankful that I came across this version and gave it a try because it's definitely up there in my top favorite crockpot recipes now. Last but certainly not least, I'm going to make what's called angel chicken. So it starts off with 2 chicken breasts going in the bottom of a crock pot. And you're going to need one of these zesty Italian salad dressing mixes. You're just going to pour that whole dry packet over top of the chicken to, season it. Give this dish a whole lot of flavor. And then I'm going in with a couple spoonfuls of just some jarred minced garlic. You'll also need a half a block of cream cheese, a half a stick of butter, and a can of cream of chicken soup. I did fill that can up with about 3/4 of a cup of chicken broth. That way I can get all of that soup out of there. But that is it ingredient wise, other than the pasta that it's gonna go over. But I cook this on low. You can do it anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. I personally like to cook my chicken for like 3 hours because I know how my crock pots cook pretty hot. But here we are after that chicken is fully cooked. I went ahead and fished it out and put it on a separate plate. And then I'm going to take a whisk and I'm going to stir this together really good just to get that cream cheese really broken up into the sauce. Now, I like to shred stuff separately when it's like in a whole lot of liquid. I just feel like it goes a little quicker. It's a little bit easier. And per usual, I'm just doing it with 2 forks. Really doesn't take that long, but if you wanted it to be super quick, you could use like an electric mixer. I also wanted to mention you could absolutely do this recipe with chicken thighs over the breast if you prefer. I would definitely like that in the future. I have also seen this angel recipe with like pork chops, I think. I would definitely like to try that someday too. But after I got that chicken all shredded up, I'm just going to add it back on into the sauce. Just took seconds to get that fully blended in with all of that sauce. And over on the side, I cooked up a box of angel hair pasta, drained it, and I'm just adding in a little bit at a time because I wasn't too sure how much I wanted to add. I ended up doing a half of a box. I've mentioned before, we like our pastas to be on the saucy side, and honestly, a whole pound of pasta is just too much for us, honestly. So this works for us, and here is what it looks like once it is done and all mixed together. It looks very plain, but it really does have such a great flavor to it. I love that it was, very few ingredients. It's super kid friendly. It was really tasty. I topped it with Parmesan cheese and pepper. I served it with some air fried Brussels sprouts, and then we did some rolls. I got those at the Walmart bakery. They were really good. But that is all I got for y'all in today's video. I really hope that there was at least one recipe in here that you would like to make yourself, and let me know down in the comments, what is your favorite crockpot recipe to make in the fall time? I'm so excited to try some more new recipes. And as always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have the best weekend, and I'll see y'all in my next one. Bye, guys.